Assalamu alaikum. Now we continue with the signs of or the marks for being raised. باب معرفة علامات الأعراب. للرفع 4 علامات: الضمة والواو والألف والنون. فأما الضمة فتكون علامة للرفع في 4 مواضع: في الاسم المفرد، وجمع التكسير، وجمع المؤنث السالم، والفعل المضارع الذي لم يتصل بآخره شيء. وأما الواو فتكون علامة للرفع في موضعين: في جمع المذكر السالم، وفي الأسماء الخمسة، وهي أبوك وأخوك وحموك وفوك وذو مال. وأما الألف فتكون علامة للرفع في تثنية الأسماء خاصة. So this is the last one we covered, the alif, this the alif, for the dual state with nouns. It's a mark for being raised with nouns. في الأسماء خاصة، تثنية الأسماء خاصة. Now this mark here is the fourth one we will cover. We covered the dhamma, the wa, and the alif. This now is the noon. This an here at the end of present tense verbs. So وأما النون فتكون علامة للرفع في الفعل المضارع, in the present tense, with the present tense verb, إذا اتصل به ضمير تثنية, if the pronoun of dual is connected to it, this present tense, أو or ضمير جمع, or the pronoun for plural, if it connects to a present tense verb, أو ضمير المؤنث المخاطبة, or the pronoun for the second person singular feminine. So if a present tense verb is used with a one woman or one girl, if you're talking to a one woman or one girl and you use the present tense verb, you use the an to indicate the state of being raised. If that verb is in that state, the present tense verb is in the state of being raised, the an will show at the end of that present tense verb. So this an, we will look for it if we see it with a present tense verb at the end of a present tense verb that has a pronoun for dual or a plural or a singular second person, a feminine. So that's the main point. We look for the pronoun. If it's attached to the end of a present tense verb, we see if the an is there or if it's not there. So this is the fourth mark. Now I will use this book here. This is وزارة المعارف العمومية, the Ministry of General Information. They have a typo here. قواعد اللغة العربية, the grammar of the Arabic language, first volume, for the students of the first year of the high school. These are the authors. You might recognize this person from the Arabic reading playlist. He is the writer for the Charles Dickens stories. He is one of the authors here. So this is the information about this book. 1949. The المطبعة الأميرية بالقاهرة, the Amiriya Press in Cairo. I will leave the link for this book in the description. Here they discuss the 5 verbs. These are called الافعال, the verbs. 5, the 5 verbs and their i'rab. I'rab meaning the changes that their ends undergo. And what is meant by these is the ending of a present tense verb, since it changes if something is connected to its ending. The 5 verbs, what they mean is the present tense verb connected with the 3 pronouns we just discussed. It either has at its end a wa, which indicates the plural. So the subject of the verb is a group of men, or masculine, or an a, which is a pronoun for the dual. So the subject of the present tense verb, the one who's doing the act, is two persons, feminine or masculine. And the and this here is for the second person singular feminine. So if the subject of the present tense verb is a singular second person singular feminine, meaning a girl or a woman, then it will have the sia attached to its end, and it will be one of those 5 verbs. The reason they call them 5 verbs with these 3 pronouns is that with this a, the second person and the third person are used, and the wa is used with the second person and third person masculine plural. So you have 5. So the present tense verb that this wa attaches to will start with the ta for the second person or a ya for the third person, and this wa will be at the end of that verb. So the wa is only for masculine, the a is for the dual, masculine or feminine. So unlike these two, this ya here is only used with the second person singular feminine. So these are called connected pronouns, so you will only see them connected to verbs, and they're also subject pronouns, or the doers of the act. So you should see one of these before the an. So the heading here says the condition of these verbs being raised, حالة رفعها, the 5 verbs. التلاميذ يذهبون إلى المدارس صباحا. The students go to the schools in the morning. So you see, we learn the marks, what you do to a past tense verb. To make it present, you add one of the 4 letters. Either the an, or the a, or the ya, or the ta. So this is at the beginning of the verb. So the ya indicates the third person. Here is the pronoun, the u. This u here indicates the third person. I know it's a third person because of this ya here. So this ya at the beginning of the present tense told me it's talking about a third person. This wa here, this u, told me it's a third person plural, masculine. Now this an is what we're talking about. This indicates it's in the state of being raised. And what this means with present tense verbs is there is no other causes for it to lose this. As we will learn later, some letters, when they come before a present tense verb, they have an effect on its ending. One of these is you either see this an or you don't see it. So if you see it, that means this verb is in the state of being raised, meaning there is nothing before it that causes it to lose this an. And there is other ways the present tense will be affected by these changes. This is one of these ways. If you're using these pronouns, they add up to 5. 2 for this wa, 2 for this a, and 1 for this ya. That's 5. So here, أنتم تعلمون. Notice here the تلاميذ is third person, plural, students. Here, أنتم تعلمون, you plural, أنتم. أنت is the second person masculine, anti second person feminine, both singular masculine, anta singular feminine, anti second person. If you have this m, it means it's a masculine, m. If it's an, it's feminine. So here it's masculine, m, antum, you, plural second person masculine, antum. Now the verb used is this with this ta here. Notice this ta with the present tense at the beginning of a present tense verb indicates the second person or a third person singular feminine if there is no other pronouns to modify that. So تعلمون. So this ta one of those four letters here that turns the past tense into a present tense, like ing in English. So at the beginning of the verb, this tells me who's being addressed with this verb and who is the subject. It's either a second person or a third person singular feminine. Now with this wa here, this u, this means it's a second person masculine plural. So now this is the pronoun here, this wa, when it's attached to a verb. That's how you distinguish between these, if it's a mark for being raised or if it's a pronoun. These will only attach to verbs. So at the end of verbs, this wa, it's a pronoun for the plural, second person or third person plural, masculine. This an here, meaning it's in the state of being raised, and this is what we're talking about, this an here. When you see it, you know there is nothing that will cause this present tense verb to lose this an, or that this verb is in the state of being raised. أنتم تعلمون فوائد الصناعة. You know the benefits of industry. أنتم. Now this here is the third one. البنتان تزرعان. So the two girls, we learned this here is a mark for being raised for nouns. This is a noun, البنتان, the two girls, البنتان. And it's in a state of being raised. This is the mark for it, this here. تزرعان, this is the verb. Now this is a noun, this is a verb. We learned that تزرعان is for the second person or the third person singular feminine. So now here تزرعان, I know it's for the third person, and what tells me it's for these two girls is this here. This is a pronoun here. When it's connected to a verb, it's a pronoun indicating the dual. So you know the verb does not have an at the end. You see it in the present tense, and you know that because of this ta. So you know now the subject of this verb is this dual, and it refers back to these two girls, البنتان. تزرعان. So this is the subject, this pronoun here. So this is a pronoun here, and it's a sign or a mark for the state or the case of this noun in here. So just be aware of that when you're talking about a noun and when you're talking about a verb. Now this an here indicates that this present tense verb is in a state of being raised. So there is nothing to cause it to lose this an here. So in other nouns and the present tense we use the dhamma, just a diacritics. Now we're talking about the letters. We discussed different letters. Now this an here is another mark is used. This letter is used as a mark to indicate the case of this present tense verb. Now الجنديان يسهران في الحراسة. Notice here, this is the dual. This here for the third person, dual. الجنديان, the two soldiers. This is a noun, so this is a mark for its being raised. الجنديان. I know this is a noun and it's in the state of being raised. If it's a dual, this is your mark, this here. يسهران, this is a verb, present tense verb. The ya tells me it's the third person. This tells me there are two person. This is the subject pronoun, this here, يسهران. So what tells me what case this verb is in is this an here. And this is what we're talking about today, this an, used as a mark with the present tense verb. The fifth case is the second person singular feminine, anti. Anti, as I said, anti for second person separate pronoun, anti, you, which with this e indicates the feminine, so one girl or one woman. You are talking to one girl or one woman, you say anti. تحسنين, you are good at doing something. In this context, it's the language. تحسنين. This ta here is the present tense letter for the second person. So I know this verb is for a second person or a third person. what tells me which one is it? This pronoun, subject pronoun, this ya here. This ya. So this is the pronoun. This e here, when it's separate, looks like this e. So if you're talking to one girl or woman and you use the present tense verb, and there is no reason for you to lose this an, or to this verb will be in the raised case, you use this an. So this is the pronoun, the ya, and this is the mark for the present tense verb in the state of being raised, this an here. So أنت تحسنين اللغة العربية. You are good at the Arabic language. Thank you for listening. Next time, inshallah, we continue with the marks for another state. Assalamu alaikum.